Hey everyone, it's Albie. Welcome back to my channel. I have another review for you today. I just finished Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, and I absolutely love this book. This is another 6-star read for me, so it will be in my end of the year favorites. I loved it so much. So this story is very different for me, and I think it's different for a lot of romance readers. So this is a contemporary romance, but it is science fiction. I'm not typically a science fiction fan or science fiction reader or paranormal reader, but this story was just really well written and was really wonderful. So our heroine is Georgie, I believe her name's Cruthers maybe, and she is kidnapped during the middle of the night by aliens. She is asleep in her bed. It's like a Tuesday night. She's had a horrible day at work. She's a bank teller. Nothing went right at work. She's laying down in pajamas, ready to, fall asleep and drift off. And unfortunately, she does drift off, but due to being abducted by aliens. So she wakes up, or basically comes to, in what's kind of like a prison cell inside of an alien spaceship, and she sees that she is not alone. There are about 12 other women that are with her in this cell inside of the spaceship, and I think there's others in another section, and it's dirty and vile and gross. There's like a bucket for the bathroom, and 12 people share it, and barely any food. And the women, if they scream or do anything against the wills of these aliens, are raped or harmed in some way. It's off page sort of, so it's not explicit, but sort of what's going on. And sometimes not having the description is even worse, because then you can picture worse in your head sort of. So there's lots of issues on the ship. And the one woman, I believe her name is Kara, and she has an earpiece, so she's able to understand what the aliens are saying. And they find out that the ship is damaged, and so they have to let go of the extra cargo. Well, these 12 women are just the extra cargo. They had extra room to abduct and kidnap other young women, so they're the cargo they're letting go of. So that the sort of evil, as she calls them, basketball-headed aliens, just drop them off on an ice planet, and they'll say, oh, we'll come back. Well, don't know if they're coming back. It could be horrible if they do come back. So the women are stranded on a frozen planet, basically. Most are covered in their own excrements, for a better word, and in pajamas. They're scared, hungry. Some have been assaulted, physically, emotionally, for sure. They're all assaulted, And Georgie decides she'll volunteer as tribute, and she will sort of look for shelter, food, life, and see what's out there. So Georgie leaves the ship. She goes out there, and she finds a brook and goes to the brook. Inside is this large fish alien that nearly eats her. And then, unfortunately, she walks into a booby trap, and she's hung upside down. She loses her knife. It's a whole fiasco. And she's dangling, and what does she find but Vektal, who is her future alien romantic lead. So it is a little problematic at the beginning, where he does do some things technically at the beginning without her consent, but then it's sort of given, so little gray area there. So it wasn't in a malicious intent. It was more so curiosity. If you read the book, very interesting, very spicy. So I don't want to give too much of the story away, but this was a really fun read. It was an action read for me, and like it had a lot of like action story building. It was very fun, I will say. And what I really liked about this book was it did have to do some world building because it is a, you know, a nice planet, but the world building didn't take away from the story, and it wasn't too wordy. I personally dislike when like fantasy or sci-fi or even like Henry James they're overly descriptive of the world building and makes sort of you, kind of takes you out of the story. Like I read I think only like the first 10 chapters of Game of Thrones, and it was just too much world building for me to enjoy the book. I like the show, but for me, some of that world building I don't really enjoy, but I really did like this. So Ruby Dixon did a lovely job at sort of explaining some creatures that were on this planet, and just sort of the atmosphere of the land, and I liked that, and it was done briefly but with enough detail where I could put in my head what the land looked like and what the creatures looked like. And so I really enjoyed that aspect, because I know as someone like me that doesn't enjoy that aspect of fantasy and just science fiction, where you have to sort of understand what these creatures are, you have to know what the world is, and sometimes I think authors must know that the typical reader of fantasy or sci-fi knows what they're sort of talking about with like creatures mentioned. And as someone like me that doesn't do that, it takes me a while to understand all the all the creatures and such. So I like that this book didn't do that a lot. Like it didn't take me out of the story at once. It was just really fun. I will say the spice literally is out of this world. It was very good, well written. I really loved the romance. So this had a really fun Beauty and the Beast trope for me. I mean, we obviously have that because we have a gentle giant alien and a human female. So just love that aspect. I really like the one section of the book where Georgie isn't able to physically communicate with Vektal, and so he can't pronounce her name at first, so he calls her Shorshi. And just there was a lot of humor in the book as well that I liked, because Georgie is very modern and sassy, and she's very free with her words, and I thought that was funny. And Vektal is just this gentle giant that's just completely enamored with Georgie. He's I think they call it, I called it in my head a Q, Khui, and it's sort of like basically like a love at first sight thing, but it's this emotional crevice that lies in their, I would say, their heart. But it's sort of how they survive, but also when your Ku is drawn to another person, that means you're like soulmates, and it's a very intense and powerful love. And Vektal's Ku vibrates and acknowledges that Georgie is the love of his life. And oh my gosh, just so romantic. And I liked the story a smidge more when Georgie couldn't understand Vektal, but I knew it kind of had to happen where this magical, well, not really magical, but scientifical computer like scanned her and was able to teach her the language of Vektal's people. But I did like when they couldn't communicate, and it was just like this raw attraction without words. It reminded me of one of my favorite movies is Splash with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. It's a kind of like a modern, well, now it's like 30 or 40 years old at this point, but a modern Little Mermaid. And so in that, Madison, you know, the mermaid can't speak, but she learns English like a couple days later from watching TV for like hours. But just so much fun. I absolutely love this story, and I cannot wait to read book 2. I'm kind of mad at myself for not bringing book 2. I'm at my grandma's right now, as you can see. You've probably seen in some other videos this background. I'm just in my grandma's basement or rec room. But I wish I had brought book 2 because I love the story so much. And yeah, if you've heard of this and want to give it a try, I highly recommend it. It is really short. the book itself is 218 pages, and then there is an epilogue which doesn't have spoilers in it, and so I think it clocks out at 248 pages, so pretty short for a book. And then there is a second, let me see, when does it start? There is a second epilogue, Ice Planet Honeymoon, but it has an author's note that says you might want to read book 2 before you read this, because it could have spoilers for you. So that's part of why I bought book 2. Plus book 2 has the beautiful new special edition covers, which I absolutely love. So I plan on reading book 2 and then reading the epilogue in here, and then the second epilogue. But love this story. I think a lot of people will as well. I mean, it wasn't so science fiction-y where, you know, it felt like science fiction. It just felt more like light science fiction, or light fantasy. So it had that wonderful like Beauty and the Beast trope, which I really enjoyed, and I think a lot of people will as well. So if you're looking for a fun romance, or looking for a book you could talk about with your friends about the Blue Alien books, I highly recommend Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, as well as subscribe. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well at Albie Reading Romance. Let me know in the comments below, have you read this series? What were your thoughts? What was your favorite part of the book? And have you continued on with the series? And is it a good series to continue with? Let me know. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.